All right, so welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about BBIG or Vinco, and we're going to look at really how high can this thing go, or what can you expect from the technicals and the charts. So I'll give you my personal take and opinion, and again, take it with a grain of salt because, you know, my opinion could be wrong. So as we go into this stock, remember this stock is more speculative. It's not one of those longer term holds maybe like Microsoft, but in your case, if you want to take it like a longer term hold, that's totally okay. Just remember to spread out your capital. So if my opinion's not the same as yours, just understand that it could be looking at maybe a different time horizon. All right, let's kick things off, and we're going to go ahead and look at this stock. And if you want to request certain stocks as well for me to do reviews and recaps on, then by all means check out our Discord channel and server, and you can go ahead and sign up there in the description. Anyway, so BBIG, you know, how high can investors squeeze into this stock? I mean, this stock basically, as we look at it, it is a cheap stock. So that's one thing that I will say is that because it's cheap, there's going to be a lot of retail traders that trade it. And when there's a lot of retail traders, people get psyched out, faked out, it whips around. So a lot of institutions, they're not going to want to trade the stock because it's not usually liquid enough. Now, this one, the liquidity has picked up quite a bit. It's got like 38 million. So some of the bigger players will, or maybe groups of people will get into these types of stocks. But I'll give you, you know, my taste on some of these technical analysis levels. So this stock, if we look at a little bit of a longer term on this stock, you can see it basically started out here 2018. This stock was opened up IPO style, and then right there at $10 is kind of the range where we've got a little bit of problems. This stock had some resistance right there, and you can see in 2021 we also came up and hit that resistance as well, and then also multiple times. So it's not just once. It seems like $10 is a big trouble spot, and many stocks that are cheap usually have a huge problem around that $10 range. If they can get past that $10, you know, for multiple weeks and continue on that trend, usually it's a good thing. But if they can't get through it, it could be a huge problem. So this is a huge issue and major resistance. So be careful about this. So as we look at the longer term, that is a key sore spot for this stock, okay? So as we go into kind of more of the weekly trend here, you can see again, just even in September, this stock, again, that $10 was a sore spot. Yes, it does break out a little bit past it, but this is known as Confluence. And Confluence is kind of like saying your friend shows up to dinner at 6 o'clock, come to dinner at 6 o'clock. Yeah, no problem. Well, they show up at 6:05 or they show up at 5:58. They're not going to show up exactly at 6. So it's not hitting exactly 10. It's going to hit around that range. So when we look at technical analysis, we actually have to look at it more like this is kind of that range or problem area, and we have to make it much more thicker. So we're looking at kind of within that spread, because everybody's trying to get in or get out at different points, and the price sometimes can wiggle higher or lower. So anyway, so we've got $10 here as a little bit of a problem spot, but what you can see what happens usually with this stock is when it breaks out, okay, it sells off, right? So you got like a major breakout. So just take a look at the price pattern, right? The human behavior of the stock, because usually people are trading the same types of stocks over and over again. So when we have like a descending trend line, which is resistance, and we have a nice breakout, we have like this huge move, right? And then that stock eventually fades out, right? People are like, it's not going up, I'm losing money, then they'll dump it, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, then again, you get like this nice move, okay, I'm getting in it, and then again, that stock fades out. Okay, so this is known as a gap and fade, right? So stock gaps up, and then a lot of investors will fade it. So a lot of these cheaper stocks, I will say, they usually are to be shorted. Okay, so don't hate me for saying it. It's a lot of times they're cheap, and they're cheap for a reason. I'm not saying you can't go long the stock if you play it a little bit different. I'm just saying a lot of times what happens is when these things gap up, a lot of people will get in them to short them. Now, in your case, if you want to go long in them, what you're trying to do is actually build the position before this breakout. So after it kind of compresses, you're trying to build that position, you know, actually on the down moves. And I wouldn't do like, let's say you're trying to do like 3,000 shares or something like that. I wouldn't put like 3,000 all in one day. What you're trying to do is spread out like, you know, 100 shares, 100 shares, 100 shares. You're trying to average into that position and kind of get it across. In this case, this stock is trending roughly a couple months. So what you're trying to do is allocate across 2 to 3 months, maybe your full allocation. Okay, so that's how you want to think about it as you're trying to build that position. And then once it gaps up, what you're doing is peeling off, let's say 50 shares or 100 shares each time, you know, 100, 100, 100, dump. And then you'll probably fade off again. So if this stock does continue to move to the higher end, it'll probably fade off again because that has been the pattern, and $10 seemed to be a sore spot. Now let's go into more of the more recent move, and you can see we've got a lot of volume coming in. Here is the descending pattern. And remember, as we look at charts, we're really combining fundamental analysis and technical analysis, because usually fundamental analysis, if the stock has great fundamentals, the charts are going to be good. And if the stock has great charts, it's going to have great fundamentals. In this case, you could see it's a little rocky, so you're going to have a few issues. Yes, you could buy it based on hope or what could happen, or because of this lockup or that is going to happen. That's true. But remember, fundamentals usually apply on a longer duration, like 6 months plus, maybe a year plus. Really, when people panic or when people buy on hype, it's going to be on the technicals or shorter term duration. They're not looking at fundamentals at that point. So they're looking right here. Boom. People are coming in, large amounts of buyers coming in. So what could happen here? So if this is our A pattern, we could do an A to B. Sorry, not B here. A to B, B to C, and C to D. So we can come back right into the 10. So as you can see, it's actually a perfect setup for an ABCD pattern. Now that ABCD pattern could be minor. It could be something like this, where the C to D leg is here, and your money leg is basically the C to D leg. So right now it's pulling back. So if you're trying to combine into it, there it is. Look at that. There's the gap that also shows up. So notice how it actually works out fairly nicely on the human psychology front, or just the pricing patterns and behavior. So as you watch this, this could be an early entry as on this bounce. A more cautious entry could be kind of when it breaks the B pattern high, which would be around $6. But again, watch out for that 10, because that 10, it seems to have a lot of trouble. So you want to peel off some money into strength there. Now, I'm not saying you can't break through, but if it doesn't break through, you could have some trouble. But if it does break through, you could add those shares back. So usually you always want to peel some things off into strength as it powers higher. So anyways, hope that helps, gives you some insight on the chart. You know, depending on your long-term position, short-term position, everybody's at a different point. So if you're watching this, whether you're long or short, that 10 is what to watch out for. So if you're just kind of looking for a possible pullback here and a move to the upside, watch out for the 10. If you're trying to short it, you could wait till you get to the 10 and maybe take an opportunity. If you're looking to kind of trade it to the long side, you know, you could get a more aggressive entry on the dip here, or a more cautious entry when it breaks kind of the high B points there. Obviously, you could try and get it at lower value, but by the looks of it, the stock's kind of rounding a little bit here. So you're just kind of looking at, hey, where's a nice base pattern? And we're trying to aggregate our position, usually buying a little bit of shares throughout a couple of weeks before the breakout. So anyways, just depends. Are you bullish, bearish on it? How do you like to trade? And that's what you're trying to do on this stock. Anyways, thanks for joining me on this setup and this chart. If you enjoyed it and you want to see more charts like this, subscribe. And you can also request your own on the Discord channel, which you can see in the description below, or on our website at tradersfly.com if you're looking to trade options or critical charts. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.